Joseph, welcome, firstly to England, secondly to the College of Psychic Studies of all places.
What better place to be?
And thirdly to your movie.
Thank you.
Welcome to your movie. I must admit that I was blown away at the depth, the intimacy, the reality of issues, and how open the movie was, where I went in thinking, more American Hollywood trash that's just going to take the piss of men who are embarrassed in front of women and not get anywhere. So full marks to you straight away.
But thank you for saying that. It was a big ambition of mine to make a film that did not subscribe to the typical Hollywood satire about men, that myself, been involved in men's work, has been enduring that kind of buffoonery for a long time. And no, I wanted to really make a more holistic picture of men today and what they're going through.
Why? In a nutshell, where did that come from?
Wow. Well, I would start off by saying I'm very connected to this idea that men benefit from working together in groups. I've been part of men's groups for almost 20 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, it started as a younger man who was going through a lot of trouble in terms of my identity, my feelings about being a man, my uncertainty. And I found myself drawn into these groups where men were talking more honestly about who they are, what they feel, their fears, their shame, their grief, their joy and their power as well. And I really needed to hear that and find it for myself. And so, you know, after many years of participating and feeling inspired by that work, as an actor and filmmaker, I said, you know, this is a subject I really would love to bring it into the mainstream. You know, I've been inspired by it, many other men have, but I still feel it's been marginalized, it's been threatening to society. What are these men doing? Why are they doing it? We should be suspicious of them or laugh at them. And I'm done with that. I want to bring it into the mainstream and say, no, men need to talk to each other. They benefit from it in many ways, which we can discuss. And I'd like to bring a film, a fictional film, not a documentary, into a story about what goes on in such a group and bring it to a wider audience if I can.
So what I'm hearing you say is that it's something that helped you with your growth and to get over your stuff to make you the man that you are today.
Well, I certainly hope so.
So are you also saying, because some of the stuff in that movie was nuts, in a way. In another way, some of it was, you know, it's not the way I've been running men's groups for, 12, 13 years.
Yeah.
It's not what we do in my men's groups, though I have been in one or two groups where that kind of thing, and that kind of thing you're going to have, people who are going to have to watch the movie to see what that kind of thing is.
Gotta watch the movie to see what that kind of thing really means.
It's not, that kind of thing's not normal in the mainstream world. So I wonder whether that kind of thing is normal in your groups or...
So, yeah, okay, let me speak to that. So when we say that kind of thing, what are we euphemising indeed? First of all, let's break it down. The film presents a modern day men's group that gets together once a month, not that often, but once a month to break bread together. They have a breakfast, and then they sit down to talk about their lives and try to share as honestly as possible and receive support from one another. That's the basic engine of the film. On this particular day, things do not go quite as planned. A newcomer has come to the group, which in a way is a way for the audience to kind of come into such a phenomenon with a guy who's a newcomer. How does he see this group? And it looks like long-standing conflicts and distrust that has built up over a period of years is coming to the fore. One man looks like he might be in crisis, heading toward a breakdown. And it ignites things in the group. and it becomes quite volatile, and they do act out in various ways that, yes, you would not necessarily see in, let's say, a normal, everyday men's group. And that is artistic license, if you will, to tell a story. You need conflict. You need to tell what would, perhaps this is the story of 10 or 12 years of a group, and when they've come to a place of trust where they could actually even go to some very volatile places. And
they did.
And they did.
That was one of the things, you know, I felt that in the beginning of the movie, there were issues, things came up, it was fun, got to know the characters, got allowed in, etc., etc. What I didn't expect was, at some stage, I was squirming. It was embarrassing, it was taboo, there was depth, there was stuff that, no, this is, let's pretend it's not there. And you went there. And it's not like went there in a vulgar way or a titillating way.
No.
It was touching on it. And in the screening there were quite a few blokes that come to my groups, and it was interesting to see which bits touched them, which bits brought things alive in them, and how they squirmed. So
and challenge.
Exactly. Exactly.
I wanted the film to be challenging, but in the most inviting way possible. So focusing on what is so uncomfortable about sitting with other men and listening to their stories, what it triggers in us, seeing things in the other men that they obviously don't see in themselves, but we see them. From the leaders of a group to those who are in crisis. Everybody has something they're hiding to some degree.
And how clever the way you allow people to avoid and then for it to come around. The way that, and for me this is real life experience, the way that the men care enough to take risks for the good of the other men.
Ultimately, I think, you know, one of the main messages of the film is that men have not only the capacity, but they have a real motivation to care about each other.
Given half a chance.
Given half a chance, given the time to spend together. They do not want to see their brother go over the edge. You know, they do not err on the side of negativity. They want the best for the other man. It may mean holding the other man's feet to the fire, as we say, and really going and pressing into that sensitive place and challenging him. But ultimately, the film goes to places of real vulnerability, and that's kind of what we're talking about, I think, is male vulnerability. You know, we walk around in this life as males thinking, I can't be vulnerable, can't show that. That's not how I'm trained. That's I'm expected to buck up and get through life. And you know, I think we talked earlier about the idea about men in descent, the idea of descending. You know, descent, you know, is like verboten in our society. You have to stay up all the time, and survive. And
that's one of the biggest tragedies for me. I mean, I feel, in a lot of ways, the difference between a boy and a man is a boy is surviving. A boy can't deal with anyone's pain or not being safe, or possibly being rejected, or possibly being abandoned, or, you know, all of these things. It's survive at the cost of his life. Irrespective of age, that's survival. Where a man, well, it's not reacting to life and surviving, it's responding with choice and taking part in life. And that's a totally different story. And I saw that transition in the movie. I see that transition in groups. I surround myself with people in that transition or on the other side, because I know what it's like to be a surviving boy at the age of, you know, teens, 20s, 30s. I'm now 52 this year, for crying out loud. And I catch myself, and it's up to me to come to and turn it around.
What do we do with our fear? You know? We're not allowed to feel fear. You know, what does a man do? Well, statistics show a lot of men choose a way out. You know, they go to suicide, or they go into depression.
Get unconscious.
They get unconscious with drugs, drinking, and numb it out. You know, because I'm not allowed to be afraid. Guess what? We're all afraid. And to the degree that we could embrace and share it, and you get to the other side of it.
It's interesting what you said about your own journey and the characters in the movie and the issues they had. And I remember my first men's group, which I actually held in my lounge after travelling around the world and living in Australia and wherever for a good few years. And I came back to my nearest, dearest friends, and there were issues of alcoholism and drug addiction and workaholism and sex addiction and God knows, forget about love addiction and mummy's boy stuff, and the whole lot was there. And I just thought, what's happened here? I need my depth. I need to be connected. I need a place where I can be me and explore who I am. So in a nutshell, I basically said, look guys, this is what's happened to you. This is where I've come from. I need to meet at the place of depth and reality. And I want you to meet, I don't know what a men's group is, I've never been to one, but I'm starting one now. So I want to meet you there. And I need this quality in my life. And my intention with my work, and I feel your intention with your work, is to bring this to the mainstream and give people permission to get together and get real. And I don't feel competition in my groups. And if it comes up consciously. I don't feel bullshit in my groups. But when it comes up, it's conscious. And if I don't notice my bullshit, someone else is going to.
Yeah.
And I'm not bashed down.
Yeah.
It's brought to my attention. Would you say it's similar?
I would say that's my experience in the men's groups that I've done in America. The underlying current is, can we be in a place where we are authentic with each other, we celebrate the authenticity, we draw it out of each other, we're not there to shame and to judge, that this is a nurturing that men need. Yeah. Dare I say that? That seems to be a feminine quality. Well, it's not. Males know how to nurture. It's a generative quality, it's supportive, it has great strength in it. And it's not, it's even fierce, it's not weak and, victim-y or whatever. It's a male motive feeling, I think it's been called. And it's something that we need to enjoy and celebrate and feel more of, feel more permission to. You say the mainstream? Absolutely. Yeah. The film, they made the film so that people could take a look at this and not be threatened by it. So, it uses a fair amount of humor to get to the serious, sensitive issues.
And isn't that the way things go? How many jokers are jokers from the classroom in order to survive, in order to just tape up? It's like, this is the personality I'll give you while I protect my soul, or who I really am, or my vulnerability. This is the personality that's going to help me survive this classroom, or this community, or this situation. And then the joker kills whoever it is that's behind it.
Well, certainly, there is that. What I'm referring to is that there is a need for humor, and my film actually does invite humor into the story, which is to say that men are both noble and they are quite absurd. And I'm not afraid of going to that place and celebrating kind of the whole picture.
Yeah.
I think we, particularly men who've been involved in men's work, we can get a little too precious and a little bit too, taking ourselves quite seriously. And, just honor the fact that what we do is, it's extraordinary, and we screw up all the time. These are flawed men you see in the film. These are not perfectly evolved men's group warriors, they are tripping over themselves in an effort to get to something that's more true and authentic and real. Yeah. And I think it's very important that we make fun of ourselves. I'm not taking the piss out of the men's movement. I'm taking the piss out of ourselves. And we screw up in delightful, hilarious ways. And as a dramatist, that's very important to me. It's also too bloody heavy, to just come in there and do all. A documentary can serve that.
Yeah.
This is an entertaining film, and I think it's a window at the same time. And I think that's important. So.
And it's real. It's very
well,
real.
The humor is only funny because it's real.
Exactly.
You recognize.
Yeah. And I feel that people laugh at the shadow because it's been revealed.
Yeah.
It's the perfect reaction.
Exactly.
And I feel very much in my groups, what I gain from it is a space that's mine. I'm not pretending anything, I'm not doing anything, I'm not fixing anything. There's a space for me to be, and there's a space for me to explore who I don't need to be anymore. So who am I right now, and who do I not need to be? So there's a space for me to grow.
I love that. I love that. That's another intention, I would say, that matches the film's intention, which is, we look at our flaws and our shadows so that we, as the observer, as the audience, have a chance to say, well, I see that. I see that in people I know, or I see it in myself, and I want to be.
Yeah.
I want to either avoid that in the future, or I'm learning what I'm capable of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel also, exactly taking on from where you were, it's naming the shame.
Yeah.
And so many people, I can so own that, for a lot of my life, I blamed the shame.
Oh, yeah.
It was because I'm a victim because of this, or if that didn't happen, or whatever. But once I name whatever my pain is, or whatever my shame is, and I'm not blaming it, then I can turn it around. It doesn't own me anymore. I can, as I unlearn it, I pick up tools.
Yeah.
It takes the lid off things to live a life, rather than to survive a life, and have excuses for whatever's not working, or stories. It's like, as you said, this is where the stories can come out.
Yeah.
It's almost like exorcise them, honour them, love them, own them, rather than this story owns me and it's my secret. It can go anywhere apart from there, and you just get that little bit of me that I know is safe.
The stories.
And the way the stories unfolded in the movie, work of art.
Oh, thank you so much. I value stories. My father gave me that love of story. He was a storyteller and a great writer too. And my character that I play in the film, who's kind of the unofficial leader, which I thought was the right role for the director. No, it was a bit seamless and saved us a lot of money too. But I didn't have to pay myself twice. It's like someone's got to do this. But my character, he's kind of a history professor at university. And he makes a point about telling stories is actually a way to become closer and initiate each other into a connection about masculinity and male life. And men's groups are exactly a wonderful cauldron for that, for them to come together and tell our stories. And we can tell our personal stories. We can even use mythology to understand how we're part of something much larger, and the energies that are at work within us.
And I think that's exactly what it is. It's personal. It's personal stories. It's I. It's not we. And I'll justify myself by saying we're all the same. And it's not you, where it's disconnected. It's I. I own mine. I feel mine, I'll take responsibility for mine, I'll wave it about so you can laugh at me, and then we can move on.
Tell more I stories. Tell your story. I mean, what a great thing to say. It's like, I want to hear from you. Yeah. I mean, we go through life, people feel like they no one ever wants to hear anything from us.
Yeah.
I followed the work of Robert Bly for some time in his books, Iron John and the Sibling Society, and he had a lot to say about male grief and male mentoring, and he did a lot of work with males in groups. And one of the things Robert Bly said was that irreverence was important, that men need to embrace some degree of irreverence with themselves and each other when they work together, because irreverence is a doorway to the sacred. Reverence is a doorway to the sacred. What does he mean by that? I don't know. I think he means that if we're willing to kind of let go and get a bit silly and get a bit crazy, and then, have craziness.
Yeah.
They can be absurd and out there, and, I was a big follower of Monty Python for a long time. To me, Monty Python is quite sacred to me. So, there's something to it. It's like we get into our joy and our wackiness, and then something opens in the heart, I think. I think, we open to that kind of bliss, and there's something open.
Yeah.
There's an opening.
Yeah.
I think that's what it
Beyond
is.
the control.
Beyond the control, and then the sacred moves in, the sacred, which is love.
Do you know, that reminds me, I've got, so on my website I've got my ground rules that everyone can use, and I've got the check-in round that everyone can use, and it's the basic stuff like confidentiality and I statements, etc., etc. Rule number 10 is live beyond the rules. Play big enough that you might be challenged, you might be wrong, you might be humiliated, you might be whatever, but play big enough so you might learn something. Play big enough so you might grow. Play big enough so it's safe to go there to find out. Rather than, okay, which situation am I in? Well, I know how to fit, I know how to survive this, I know how to make everyone like me. No. What's the point?
What I hear in that is play big enough means go to your potential.
Yes.
Go where's your energy? Let it come.
Yeah.
Let it come. If there needs to be a boundary, you'll find it.
Exactly.
Push up against it.
And I wonder whether this is in alignment with the irreverence, is like, be free, explore it.
Yeah.
This is the place to explore. This is the place to grow. And what I like to find out is what doesn't work.
Sure.
Because I remember when I went travelling for years, so many people travel to find out who they are. And when I went travelling, it's like, well, that is just so inefficient, because whoever it is that I decide I am, firstly, I'm going to have to buy that bag. Secondly, I'm going to have to sell that bag. Surely it would be more efficient to find out who I'm not, and then I'll just be the leftovers.
Oh yeah. Not who we're not. Yeah, in the film, there's moments of great irreverence, and again, we really want to celebrate that part of Ben that gets out of the comfort zone and gets into the risky place, and finds, wow, there's a lot of energy here and a lot of power too.
Creative chaos.
And in chaos, you embrace some chaos. It's good for
God,
the soul.
and
there's some chaos in this film. And guess what? A point gets reached where maybe they've gone a bit too far, and god damn, they're going to have to come back, and that's necessary.
Exactly. And I find that the place I come alive it's not even always on the edge, it's a little bit beyond the edge.
Beyond the edge.
Do you find that?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
That's what I get by the Robert Blythe.
It's the fool, in the old tarot deck.
He's
looking up at the sky, he's got the knapsack, and one foot is stepping off the cliff.
Yeah.
We have to be in the fool a bit.
Yeah.
We'll never really know life, feel it.
Spot on. Yeah. Now, there's one other thing I want to touch on, and that's the whole issue of, I guess maybe it's two sides. There's humour, and there's also humiliation, and very, very important issues. And I know a lot of men have come to my groups after, for example, reading David Dada, reading what's Dada's book called The Way of the Superior Man, reading Stephen Biddulph's Manhood book, and the latest biggie is No More Mr. Nice Guy. And I know what it's like to be the nice guy, where I'll play small, I'll make everyone laugh, I'll sell out on myself, no one can humiliate me because I've already done a better job than you could, and it's just not worth it. And people use, I used to always be laughing or having this stupid grin on my face, hoping everyone would join in and no one would attack me or whatever it is. So how did you use humour? What was behind all of that?
Oh God, I don't know. I think it's, again, it's like I find men funny. What else can I say?
I think,
What else can I say?
It's the truth,
I find men very funny. and very absurd.
Yeah.
And I find myself, quite stupid at times.
Yeah.
And if I don't have that in the movie, then I'm not being
Then
very
it's a
honest.
lie.
Then it's a lie.
Yeah.
I'm not being honest. And I want to see what is uncomfortable and the stupid things that they do.
Yeah.
And that they go far and then they go too far.
Yeah.
And, I want to see that so that I can see it in myself
Yeah.
and say, wow, okay, now I've got options, don't I?
And also, thank you for going so far, because now I can learn from you, and I don't have to make all the mistakes myself.
I don't have to make all the mistakes, exactly,
Yeah.
And God, we gotta laugh. This work is life itself, not to mention men's work in men's groups, which is vital work. It's energizing and it's also scary.
Yeah.
And I think, if to the extent that we can show those fears and take it too far a bit and laugh at it is really necessary, so that we're not feeling so alone in it.
It's funny.
Humor includes all of us.
Totally. And what just crossed my mind was allowing things. I mean, when I find I'm lost in my head or in some old pattern or surviving something, I have taught myself to take a deep breath in, not even think to the end of the sentence, take a deep breath in that moment. And as I breathe in, I think, thank you for reminding me who I used to be. Who I used to be was that surviving little boy that needed to, And as I breathe out, I take part in what's in front of me.
On the whole, again, it's like I see men as quite funny and absurd, and I see them as very noble and beautiful. And one of the things I tried to do in the film was to show, for me, how beautiful men are. When I say beautiful, I don't mean an aesthetic beauty. There is an aesthetic beauty, but it's not the one that women have.
Share your heart.
It's an honesty, an openness. The camera often presses very close into men's faces, and we get to see all of what's going on there. And I find that very tender. There's a tenderness there. So with all the humor, there's also great tenderness. And I wanted to have, again, the most whole picture I could put together of the film. And
I got my 3 favorite things from your movie that for me allows things to pass, and that is the breathing. It's also the laughter. Laughter also helps things pass. And the final one, which is so important, is the tears, because as things pass there, the soul and the heart has space for the man to come alive and be who he is. And if that's what's going around me, then this is the life I want to live, this is the community I want to be in. And I don't just want it in my men's group room, I want it in my life, I want it in the world.
I do too.
Now my inner DJs are playing the new seekers singing I'd like to teach the world to sing.
I have the distinction of participating in a TV series called Mad Men. I played the father of the main character, Don Draper, who's a guy who's a man, who's a Madison Avenue executive, and he is very much hidden from most of the people around him in terms of who he really is. So when you see my character, who is his father in the Depression as a farmer, you get a sense of who this guy was or where he came from. The end of the show, Mad Men, takes us all the way through the 1960s to the very end, and this guy finally ends up at a retreat center in California, meditating. And it was the beginning of the 1970s, when the human potential movement had sort of moved forward, from the 60s into the 70s, and people were starting yoga and meditation and group work and men's group work really began to take off. And it was very smart of the producers and the writers to take the character who had been this drinker and womanizer and all that and take him to this place where now he was lost and he needed some connection. And the last thing they do in the show is they show the commercial of "I'd like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony," because it's ostensibly that maybe he came up with that campaign as the next thing. And the point is this: my film, Welcome to the Men's Group, kind of picks up where that show left off.
Whoa, so it's a progression of your character.
In a sense, well, I played the father of that character.
Yeah,
So
well, the story.
The story, though.
Yeah.
That took men through all of that 1960s, acting out and repression and alcoholism and all that, and then took them into the human potential movement.
Mm.
Who can I be? What can I be? What is my potential? And my film, our film, takes us to that next place.
Mm.
This is the sort of the extension of Mad Men, if you will. So anybody who liked Mad Men, I think you might like this film.
So now that the movie is ready to go, where's it going to go?
Well, that's a good question. Where is it going to go? What we're doing right now is we're doing promotional screenings, such as the one we did just the other day that you attended, so that we're building awareness that this film is here, that it's coming and will be available. We hope it will be released in the next few months. We're also doing a crowdfunding for the distribution. It's a very independent film. It was not backed by any studio.
It shows that it's an independent film. That's why it's got that quality and depth. And it's like, wow, this is worth backing. It hasn't got some silly-ass happy ending and skimming the... It's in there. It's enough to touch people to think, that's like me. And I can change this. I can come alive and turn it around.
And maybe this is something for those who have been shy about going into this type of work, that is an invitation. Saying, I think I might want to try that. I might go call up Mammarella D'Cruz, who's the Man Whisperer.
I'm really so lucky with the Man Whisperer thing. What actually happened is Newsweek contacted me, Newsweek magazine, and said, we want to come to a men's group, we've heard about the work, we want to write about it in the magazine, so fine. And they came to the college. So, this is like my publicity's place, it seems.
Great.
And what a great place to run men's groups. It's like, of all places, the College of Psychic Studies, you can do it anyway. So, came here, sat in a group, and of all things, they wrote a whole chapter in their book, and they called me the Man Whisperer.
Oh.
And what I love about that is it's not the man fixer or the man teller. It's asking questions and whispering. Exactly. So men can slowly unfold and come alive to be who they are, rather than like, who needs fixing? It's not, and the same with the movie. No one fixed anyone. There was love, there was care, there was challenge. That worked.
All the fixing is going to come from within, as you know. The brilliant work that you're doing as the Man Whisperer, you help people unfold to their own gifts, their own empowerment, in their own time, and when it's right. And that's what a true whisperer does.
I can't wait to be in the men's group with you tomorrow evening. To bring it to actually experience it, to share it.
I'm very excited to participate in your group and to share my experience if that's if everyone's open to that. Just hearing
totally.
There's a connection.
Well, that's the whole thing. There is space for us in the groups. There's space for us in the movie, because it's like there's stimulation there. It's like, I need some of that space. If it's that clean. I mean, there might be people who are going to be scared, thinking, well, do I have to go to this place and do these things, and is it that challenging, etc., etc. Where that's one type of group. They are not all like that. In my groups, we sit in a circle and we talk. And we ask questions, and we share experiences, and we learn from each other. And it's as simple as that.
It's as simple as that. It's as simple as sitting in a circle and talking to each other and giving space and respect to do it. And encouraging, as honest talk as possible. The value of just talking. Just sharing and unburdening. And sharing, again, not just your woes and your grief, but also your joy.
Celebrating.
And celebrating
life.
And the film is doing that. This is what the spirit of the film is really that. Yes, we show men going to some extremes. That doesn't happen in every group. It might take years, or it might never happen. But it is a way to celebrate the whole, the dark and the light of men. And say that it's time that we start talking about that and honoring that. And I want to say that I hope that the film is an opening for women to take a look at men in this vulnerable space and saying, wow, I thought when they got together they just went on about us, what you might see. And I think women will be a big part of the audience for this film, is that men are in there fighting for their lives, and they're fighting for their relationships with women too.
There are two sides of this for me. There are women in relationship with men, women making peace with their fathers, their brothers, whatever. There are also women who bring up boys. Now, how can a woman bring a man into the world? It goes so far. And something you said earlier about it takes men to raise a boy.
Yeah.
And very often, especially in the separate society that we have, is so many people, so many boys spend half their lives trying to be their father and then the other half undoing it to find out who they are.
Wow.
Where for me, it's all about community. And I don't have kids. If I have kids, it would be my job to surround them with good people so they can see, well, I'm like that, and I'm like that, and I'm not sure about any of that, but so they get the best bits of the space around them to be who they are, and to experiment with who they are, and to let it grow that way.
Boys need to be seen. They need to be seen by other men and valued. Just that alone, and that could be showing a boy how to drive the car, going fishing. This has been going on for millennia, of course, but I dare say in the last few hundred years it's been Industrial Revolution came in, it separated fathers from sons, and we don't have the same
the atrocities of war,
the wars
that
have happened.
So many men, including my father, who have had post-traumatic stress disorder or whatever issues, and it's the same thing. Yeah. If I talk about this now, then I may never be able to survive taking the lid off that.
Absolutely.
I'd like to name two things. I'd like to name my wish for you in the movie, and I'd like to name my wish for me, and this is for our work.
Please do.
And my wish for you in the movie is that people experience it. They watch it, especially men initially, watch it and say, I love that, I hate that, how dare he put that in, and that's wrong, etc. And to be charged by it, to feel something, so it enlivens something in them to make a difference in their own lives, and then from their lives and their relationships, in their communities, in their purpose. And I would love that to happen initially with men, and then with the mainstream, and then with the women. But this is important work where men have got an opportunity and a space to be the best that they can, and to let go or include or make sense of everything that's brought us this far, turn it around.
Let the film serve, again, as a conversation starter or a continuance. If it brings up, a lot of challenge and a lot of triggers for you, so be it. It's better that we're feeling something about ourselves rather than cutting off to it and going on as we did.
Absolutely, and it's all about the feeling rather than the thinking and the survival. It's feel it, follow the feeling. If it goes somewhere that's not very nice, then you know where your pause button's down that needs to be released. The depressed pause buttons have kept me on hold and in limbo for so long in the past. Now I know it's an indication of what I need to include or process away or love back or whatever it is. And I think this is where our marriage is perfect, because with your movie and my wish for me is that people, I love the groups and the way it's changed lives and saved lives. So I'm running the groups in London. I also run them internationally online. And my big passion since turning 50 is everything I have, I wish to pass on. So I've started training people on how to run men's groups. And it's not like me, it's I'll give you what I have, and you take it into your community. You take it into your life, whether it's Muslim or gay or middle class or African from whatever. It's like take it into your own tribe and bring yourself and bring your people alive to live good, authentic lives with so much laughter that it's going to hurt.
Beautiful. That is my wish for you, because I celebrate that. I have no wish to hold myself up as a poster boy or anything like that for men's work. If the film can do that, so much the better. I wanted to pass on I just want it to open
Yeah.
this possibility for men who are searching for something, they don't know what it is. Go to a men's group, try it out, see if you find value there. Chances are you're going to come into a sense of brotherhood and yourself.
Exactly.
And that's going to really be a healing and empowering thing for you.
And you ask about the man whisperer bit, and then we're doing each other's to bring it in, because then it's more of a conversation rather than sales thing. And that's so excellent, the way that your character made me squirm in the movie, because in the open groups, I hold the space. So I will have all the projections of you're perfect and you're the daddy and you're the big brother and whatever it is. And then in the closed groups, everyone holds the space. It's our space. And if that's what has to happen in the open groups, fine. But the way you held the space and the way you had your secrets and the way it all unfolded and the way that you were one off rather than the elite better than, beautifully done. My God, did you make me squirm.
All of us who have deigned to be, leaders in this life, in some way, it's a good portrait to look at the leader and say, he's just a man.
Yeah.
He's a man with flaws, with secrets, with his own stuff to go through and unburden.
The same as me.
Yeah.
One off.
All of us.
Yeah. Thank you.
What a pleasure.
Perfect time that we met. This is where it starts.
Terrific. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Kenny.